Our first speaker today is going to be Vanessa Petrie. And Vanessa is the CEO of Beyond Zero Emissions. Since joining Beyond Zero Emissions in early 2017, Vanessa had partnered with her team to deliver Rethinking Cement, the world's first strategy for decarbonising the cement industry. The Zero Carbon Communities Guide won Best International Energy Think Tank in the 2008 Prospect Think Tank Awards and secured Beyond Zero Emissions ranking as the 50th best independent think tank in the world. Prior to joining Beyond Zero Emissions, Vanessa worked in diverse roles across local and state government, including infrastructure, planning and project management, legislative policy development, major policy reform, and waste and resource recovery strategic planning. Vanessa is a director of the Goulburn Valley Waste and Resource Recovery Group Board and a member of the Climate Emergency Darebin Management Committee. She has a Bachelor of Environmental Engineering from RMIT University and a Masters of Environment from the University of Melbourne. So let's make her feel welcome, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the lands of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. And also I share with you my solidarity and Beyond Zero Emissions solidarity to traditional owners being at the front of protecting country for us. How many of you know about Beyond Zero Emissions? Yes. All right, well, I probably don't need to give you my quick spiel, but in a nutshell, we are a community, and we always have been, of experts and volunteers. And we set out to show how you can get to zero emissions very rapidly using technology that's proven and commercialised. And I think what makes us really unique is the vast majority of our work done by volunteers who freely contribute their time and their skills and their knowledge. So for many years, about 10 now, we've been developing these research plans for all sectors of the economy. And a few years ago, we started to think about how we could use this knowledge to support communities. So we established the Zero Carbon Communities Program. So we all know the situation. We need to very urgently get to zero. We need to now draw huge amounts of carbon out of the atmosphere, and the situation is really serious. But we also know there's widespread acknowledgement now that for people who are at the forefront of getting to zero emissions across our energy sector and other parts of the economy, that they will come out, and benefit economically as well, and there'll be social benefits too. So there is government inaction on climate change in Australia. Energy costs are rising. There's a lot of impacts on us. But what we're seeing now, and in that void of leadership from government, we're seeing communities step up and become leaders. So Zero Carbon Communities, we've developed this program to give communities that are stepping up and leading, to give them a boost and to support community leaders with the knowledge that we have, and also with our community of experts. So how can we empower and support communities with our knowledge? Do I have a clicker? We have a focus of 10 years for all of our research work and our community program too. So why 10 years? Well, our research shows that it is achievable and affordable to get to zero emissions across all sectors of the economy. So there is no technological barrier, and now there's really no trade-off between economics and environmental outcome as well. A lot of these, this transition is financially preferable to the current status quo as well. And Australia has incredible resources. We, as you know, we have unparalleled renewable resources, the most in the developed world. So not only do we have the resources, we have the mature economy and regulatory environment to harness it and use it. But also, as Imogen Jubb, who helped establish this program, likes to share, we really can't, it's very hard for us to think beyond 10 years. So if we're talking about 2050, does that really mean that you and I need to be accountable? And she points out that when you're a kid, like my son Henry's age, he's 5, if I was to say, in 2 years' time, we're doing something exciting that would have no relevance to him, you've got to bring it into the present, which is why we focus on 10 years. So with my team and I, we'd like to share with you some highlights of what some of our zero carbon communities are doing to give you some, ideas and inspiration, and then leave you with some thoughts about what we think are the most important things that communities need to come together, form a zero carbon community and work together to get to zero emissions. Our program started with our former CEO, Stephen Bygrave, having a chat to the former Byron Shire Council Mayor, and they decided, well, why don't we use all of your research and we'll use it so that Byron Shire can get to zero. That's how the Zero Carbon Communities was formed. So they've been working now since about 2016. And so the key things that they've done is, first of all, they've developed a rigorous action plan. So we worked with them to help them understand what their baseline emissions were so they could understand where their emissions were across their community, and they then developed an action plan to figure out where they're going to tackle emissions in their community. They had a really strong focus on community engagement right from the very beginning. So in the process of working out what they're going to do and understanding their emissions, they've worked really hard to engage the entire Byron community in that process to build ownership and to make sure it's a plan that the community actually wants. And they've really focused on, they've worked really hard to make sure engagement has been at the core of everything that they've done. Next one is totally renewable Yakandanda, which you probably all know, like a really amazing community and project. So the top, they're aiming to get 100% renewable energy by 2022. And their top 3 actions that they've taken has been rooftop solar on businesses and local facilities. They've created a revolving fund for them to be able to build projects in their community. And they've partnered with their energy retailer Mondo to create a local community energy retail product. Urella was the first zero ZNet community in Australia, and they've got a plan for getting to net zero energy in their community. So the big 3 things that they have done has been energy audits and a retrofit program for their households and their businesses in their community. They've partnered with large-scale renewable developers, and they've had a solar for renters program, which I'm particularly excited about. So I myself rent. I thought, I've been trying to test out how empowered I actually am as a renter to get efficiency and solar on my roof, and I have to tell you, I'm very unempowered. I think it's, these are really great programs that we can look to from Urella to, build in our own communities. But following on from Urella was ZNet, and Renew, formerly that ATA, played a really big leadership part in this. So using the tools that Urella had created, Hepburn has worked to develop a zero emissions plan for their community, and they recently launched it. And definitely go on and have a look at this, because everything that they've created in the toolbox is available for other communities to use as well. So their top actions are the Hepburn Wind, which many of you will know about, leading in community-owned energy in Australia. They're looking at a community solar farm. And again, there was really deep engagement while developing the plan. And definitely, if you jump on and have a look, at their website, the tools they had, they did a complete analysis of understanding where their emissions were coming from and looking at the actions. But they worked really hard to, present those options to the community in plain English, visually, in a way that everyone could understand and really engage on. So they've had a lot of community participation and ownership of the vision. But it's much better. We'll show a video, and then the community can tell you for themselves why it's important. Whoops. May I have some help with the video?
area as being a little bit of a mecca for sustainability?
We think globally and we act locally.
So council has a goal to reach zero net emissions due to council operations by 2021. The Headburn Wind Project.
2,000 members contributed just under $10 million to build energy infrastructure. If we don't take action within 12 years, then we're going to have quite catastrophic results from climate change. The community believes, and rightly so, that it can get on with things and take action.
I'm angry at what's going on. I think climate change is an opportunity that's giving us that shove to say, yes, we have no choice. If we're going to create a future for our kids, no choice.
And what's really powerful, I think with community leadership is that unlike the public sector, you're not going to be sitting there problem admiring what's the problem to be solved, what's the evidence base, what are my options, what may I potentially be able to get my colleagues in different portfolios to agree with, and incrementalism. Communities just don't roll like that, as you know. You think about your vision. So all of these communities have worked together to decide what do we want our future to be, and then they've worked out a plan about how they're going to get there. And from my experience as a far too long public servant, that is radically different to how decision making occurs. But really, if we're going to tackle climate change, you need to think like this. And so this is why I think is the real value of community leadership. So not only are these communities showing what can be done, in a technical sense about, getting these solutions on the ground, but you're actually showing state and federal government what you can actually do as a community to come together and set a vision and work it out and not get bogged down, in those massive grinding processes that are, doing us all a disservice. So it's incredibly powerful, the example you show as well. We have a zero carbon community guide. We've put together, it's a 9-step program for stepping communities through deciding that you want to be a zero carbon community through to, getting action on the ground. And all of this is on our website, all of these resources. But of all, what we've found working with, a number of communities, there are 3 really essential things that we've seen that, contribute to success. The first one is a community alignment. So what is it that your community wants? What's important for your community? So you need to ask questions, what's happened before, what else is happening, and what do we really care about? And build a map in your area of what's action that's already happening and the leaders that you have across the community already. The next step is to gather followers. So building on your core of existing leaders, reach out deep into your community and build a database of people that want to and can work with you, and also collaborate with council where councils come on board and work with communities is where things can really shift. And a really great example too, and how powerful that can be is with Nillumbik. So we worked with Clean Energy Nillumbik before they formed as a pilot zero carbon communities, and at that time it was just off the back of the local election. And the council laws and they had a very strong sustainable focus, and that was wound back a bit. But through the community working with the council and re-engaging them on their zero carbon community program, that the mayor of Nillumbik is now really firmly on board and really supportive of the move to renewables. So again, the communities have been partnering and not giving up on the council, have been able to bring them on and get them on the same page. We think these are also the top technical wins, but we surveyed councils last year, and we had a bunch of interns that looked at every single council website in Australia, and we audited for what they're doing on climate change. So definitely have a look at that local government review, because it gives you an idea of some of the actions that are happening too around Australia. And lastly, this is our big secret that we want to share with you, so don't tell anyone about this website yet. We've built, so one of the things we saw was, first step, understand where your baseline emissions are coming from. It's either expensive to get a consultant or really, really complicated to teach yourself the, carbon accounting protocols. So we've partnered with Ironbark Sustainability, the Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation and Sustainability Victoria, And we have built a simple online platform where you can go and put in where you live, your municipality, and it will show you a snapshot of your emissions. So we're beta testing it at the moment, and we're launching it on the 31st of September. And eventually we'll have every single council in Australia on the website. But it's really cool. Check it out. And that is it for me.
Thank you.